One can simply not interrupt Max von Krieger. Hey everyone, it's QuickyBaby and welcome back to World of Tanks. And everyone who's been following my kind of like sicky journey over the last couple of weeks, boy am I feeling better now. Finally sleeping through the night, not waking myself up via coughing. And yeah, I had a couple of days where I rested my voice, and while I'm still a little bit squeaky here and there, like, oh man, I'm feeling like 99% better. So it's really good to be back, and slowly but surely I think my voice will return to full strength. Man, that was a serious bug. I actually did a test, and it wasn't COVID, but dude, that was pretty heavy for the first time to be unwell since like May 2019. So today I just want to give you a happy video, a happy place video, because I want the video to be about as happy as I am feeling. And what better vehicle to play when I am feeling happy than a happy place tank? This is the Jagdpanzer E100, and oh, what a shame that our HE round didn't go through the manticle there, so we only roll for 591, but we still managed to pick up the frag. This is the tier 10 German tank destroyer, and it's always a fun tank for me to play. The game that you're going to see here is right at the end of a very long session. It was a very painful session. It was one of those kind of sessions where everything seems to go wrong, and then I just picked out the Jagdpanzer, and the Jagdpanzer gave me a result that, look, it didn't probably fix the entire day worth of pain and suffering, but it definitely made me feel a little bit happy with that kind of like cherry on top of the end of an evening. Although, seriously though, it's not exactly it was an ice cream sundae with like a cherry on top, more like dog poop, to be honest with you, with a cherry on top. But at least a cherry on top makes it slightly better, right? Talking about dog poop, I haven't announced on YouTube, but we got a dog. We got a golden retriever who's called Thor. He's a puppy. He's about 10 weeks old now, I think. And yeah, I think you can see why the whole dog poop is on my mind. Trying to convince a 10-week-old puppy to not poop on the carpet, but to wait until they go outside is definitely a challenge. For anyone out there who has vast experience in toilet training dogs, or especially puppies, let me know what were your secret tips in the comments down below. Alright, so Jagdpanzer E100. Why is it such a happy place tank for me? Well, it's a happy place tank for me because it just seems to get the job done, because it's got one of the biggest guns in the game. I nearly said biggest, but no. That would actually be the artillery, but those aren't tanks, right? And they don't even hit that hard anymore. It would be the FV215B183, or it would be the FV4005 that has the title of the hardest hitting vehicle at 1,150. But at 1,050, it's not far off. So we took a swing there at an AMX M454, who was last spotted, I believe, on 3/4 of their hit points. So if they reappear with less than 3/4 of their hit points, you'll know that we probably gave them a good old clap. And no better than the Jagdpanzer E100 for giving your opponents a big old slug. 170mm, 1050 alpha damage, which is only 100 less than you would be getting. And oh dear, it doesn't look like we hit that AMX M454, but we hit that Chieftain instead. So fun to shave off half the hit points off a Clan Wars reward tank, and they get finished off by the artillery on our team, giving us the last 16 hit points of the tracking assistance. So all in all, good stuff there. So we're going to take another blind fire at a K91 who was spotted on half of their hit points. Let's see if they reappear on any less. You're going to have to be a bit of a detective here in this game of World of Tanks to see exactly how much damage we have dealt before the end of the battle. Good try by the artillery. I guess they can see all the trees that have fallen down. But if you're right on the back here against the edge of the map, then because the artillery has to try and fire over the slope, it usually doesn't work out too well for them. So it's quite hard to hit tanks that are on the edge of the map if you're playing an artillery. So use that information to avoid all of the sky pigs. Alright, so Progetto 65, we're going to switch out to an AP round with Intuition. And boom, baby. What? Oh dear God, Max von Krieger seems very happy about that amount of tracking damage, but I can tell you, I am not happy about that tracking damage. So I'm literally reverse nearly off the map here, trying to let that leopard past, because I'm not spotted. And I thought, well, I don't really want the tank spotted to go behind me, even though arguably with my 2,400 hit points, I guess I could have protected them there a little bit. But wow, I'd have to be in an incredibly good mood, and I don't think I was in a good mood that evening. One of the best things about the Jagdpanzer E100 as well is it has absolutely, utterly the highest penetration in the game. 420mm of high explosive anti-tank means that when you just absolutely, utterly want to have the best chance of being able to go through the target, and this is the round for you. Now, the shell cost does go up from 2,200 up to, I think, near about 7,000 credits. So it's definitely not the, excuse me, sorry, the most free way to play. But, again, when you want to get the job done, and pretty much not have to aim against a lot of angled surfaces. Oh no, the K91 appears. And they're actually down to 144 hit points. Were they spotted before then? If not, it looks like we might have put in a full blind fire against the K91. Meaning that we're probably on about 4,000 damage, rather than the 3,200 that we've seen. So we're just defending against the assault on the enemy team here on Malinovka. Perfect kind of position for the Jagdpanzer. We started in the stereotypical rock position, got a shot in. 2 shots in actually, and then just defended against the woods. And oh dear, there goes some of my hit points, unfortunately. So I'm trying to get behind this leopard to be able to avoid some more damage. And the 121 puts one into my lower plate. And talk about the highest penetration in the game. The Jagdpanzer E100 on the enemy team shows you that while it is fun to play one, it's not so fun to play against one. And we lose most of our hit points there. You'll be noticing, however, that I do have a lot of hit points on this tank, 2,420, and that's because I will be using a durability device inside the survivability slot on this vehicle, which I've taken from the 6th field mod. And I do love the durability device on this vehicle. It just means that it's so much harder for your opponents to be able to lock you down. And you might be thinking, what other equipment are you using on this tank? Well, I'm definitely using the turbo, because otherwise this vehicle is unplayably slow. And I actually prefer using the vents to using the gun rammer on this tank, because I'd rather have 3% everything better about the vehicle than having kind of about 8% better rate of fire on the vehicle. It's just my preferred way to play. I'd rather have the ground resistances for the mobility, the improved clutch braking so I can turn quicker, the improved accuracy by 3%. And I'd like to say 3% relative, not 3% absolute, because that would be pretty outrageously OP. If Vents did that, it'd be like half of a aiming device. So I give a little bit of sass to my team, asking whether the people at H1 were AFK or whether they were here. Luckily for me, the artillery says me here, so I guess the artillery is going to support me against this Jagdpanzer 100. But now down to 907 hit points and with 7 minutes left on this game, it's kind of a bit of a risky situation here. If I get spotted, the gorilla could high roll, or at least put me down to a position where the artillery could splash me. And the Jagdpanzer 100 on the enemy team, who was last spotted in the center, could definitely be able to finish me off. But I just had absolute lack of faith in my team of being able to finish this game off, so I decided to push forwards, get myself into the bush. Definitely not the most sneaky tank in the game, but still these bushes are hopefully fairly thick and we'll be able to spot out if the Jagdpanzer makes a mistake. And when you got like 200 millimeters of frontal armor, as we've seen in this game with bouncing a gorilla and bouncing a K91, you do have that forgiving armor for when mistakes are made. So this game is about as close as it gets. The enemy are down on 300 hit points, but they are down on a couple of tanks, so that is definitely an advantage we have. But considering how passive my team seems to be playing towards the south, I'm not sure if really us being up a couple of tanks is all that useful. So the enemy Jagdpanzer E100 gets spotted by the Progetto on top of the hill, and our 121 seems to be wanting to try and push. Considering they're spotted, that leads me to believe that there must be somebody spotting up in the location. They're probably the Progetto. So I don't really have time to reload high explosive round here. But the high explosive rounds on this tank are actually really nice. They've got 1,400 alpha damage, and they've actually got 85 millimeters of pen. And there we go, we find the gorilla and we find the Progetto. So now we know where the Progetto was, who was probably spotting that 121, because they can't be in the bush location over there. Always important to ping the map and tell your team where the Progetto is, because then that can allow your team to be more confident with their plays in trying to figure out where the enemy tanks are and trying to advance their positions. Quite often, it's a case of just one tank being in a bush or being on a corner that will hold your advance back. So I'm telling my team now that the east is open and that they can advance clearly or cleanly. Well, they can clearly advance because it is now clean, right? But the Batchat, I guess, could have fallen back from the west, so it was a little bit of a risky scenario there. So I actually end up getting spotted, which means the Progetto is a lot closer than I thought he was. That means he must be in kind of like this location here where you see me ping the map. So he's come quite far forwards. He might even be in that spotting bush location there that we've got to watch out for. My E100 manages to finish off the Batchat, and suddenly this game is starting to look fairly clean. And oh, Progetto, I think you left your butt hanging out the bush. Jagdpanzer E100 can be fairly punishing if you do leave your butt out behind a bush. Or maybe it was the M60 who spotted me down towards it, or spotted him down towards the south. Alright, so enemy Jagdpanzer E100 coming up the slope. little bit too slow there, and it's just a real awkward situation for a tank without a turret now. Getting spammed in the side by the Progetto, spammed in the side by the 121, and finished off. And ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, this was a feels good game at the end of a rough evening. And I can tell you, if any of you out there are looking for a tank to maybe blow off a little bit of steam, well, the Jagdpanzer 100 can be a little bit frustrating without the turret if you get caught from multiple angles, or if your opponents manage to track you. Well, why not try and help that out by putting a turbo and a durability device on it? And while sure, you'll sacrifice a little bit of the rate of fire, this tank really isn't about the rate of fire, it's about the alpha damage. The fact that it can shave off a third to half the hit points of any tier 10 tank in a single hit with the highest penetration in the game just means it's such a stress relief of a vehicle. When you combine that with also not the worst accuracy of 0.35, you'll find yourself hitting a lot of your shots, especially once you get the accuracy field mod, and even if you slap vents on it to be able to improve its accuracy a little bit more. So why not try this resilience mobility build on the Jagdpanzer 100? It definitely took this tank from being more of a frustration for me to being one of my favorite tier 10 tank destroyers to take out on the battlefield. So for all of you detectives out there, we saw 6,600 damage, but we ended up doing a meaty 8,700 damage. It looks like we did indeed hit that K91, and also maybe the AMX M4 on top of the hill. I was shooting at one that was full health rather than at 3/4, as we had to do 1,500 damage to that player, netting us a high caliber and also a Confederate medal as we damaged 6 tanks that were subsequently killed by our allies. And that was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 different vehicles damaged in this game. And when you're half healthing half of the enemy team, you know you're having a good impact. And we didn't even spam that many heat rounds in this game, meaning that we make a 23,000 credits profit. Anyway, ladies and gents, boys and girls, I just wanted to feature this happy place gameplay in a happy place tank after feeling so darn sad the last couple of weeks with being so unwell. Thank you all very much for staying with me. Thank you for all of your lovely messages on all of the videos where I did sound a little bit rough as I was releasing them. It really meant a lot to me to see how lovely you all are all out there and how understanding you were when my voice was so darn squeaky. So huge thumbs up from me. Thank you, ladies and gents. Anyway, I hope you all enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up. If you hated it, give it a thumbs down. And if you're watching this video as it's released, there will be brand new drops available on twitch.tv/QuickyBaby, where I'm going to be returning to my full streaming schedule. So come along. Come and tell me how much of an idiot I am in the chat for not using a gun rammer on the Jagdpanzer 100. Or why not come along and tell me what your favorite happy place tank is while getting bits of loot that you can spend in the Twitch drop store in the game. And as always, thank you so much for watching. You've been epic, and hopefully I'll see you soon.